But whenever I let the opportunities come to me, that's when things started to work out. And I'm no longer gonna be like searching for opportunities. I really do believe that the opportunities that are meant for me will come to me.
Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erica Cruz. Hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of Chingona Revolution podcast. This week, we are sticking with the theme of attracting and magnetizing. And today, I specifically want to speak to a guest, or I am going to speak to a guest who has attracted a ton of opportunities. And it's been beautiful to watch her journey because I've worked with her in Courage Driven Latina and Magnetic Mastermind. And it's just been so beautiful to see the initial idea of like, I think I want to provide this kind of service, or I think I might want to do this. And now to see it as a fully fleshed out business that has clients and she's showing up super consistently. And this person is Diana. Diana, welcome to Chingona Revolution. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. My name is Diana Serrano. I am a Latina accountant. I focus on helping the Latino community with taxes and bookkeeping. And I'm specifically focusing on helping first-gen service entrepreneurs with their bookkeeping and tax filings.
Amazing. I love working with you, and I love that my clients always have this purpose-driven mission behind what they're doing. So you didn't just tell us what you did, but you also told us why you did it and why it's important to you. And that's huge. So accounting, taxes, I mean, I don't know, Diana, these are all the things I literally want nothing to do with. So how did you end up here? How did you end up being interested in accounting and bookkeeping and taxes?
I kind of just fell into the industry as a first gen and as the eldest daughter of Mexican immigrants. Like I took the responsibility to kind of understand finances like on my own. And I knew I wanted to go into business. So once I started taking accounting classes, it kind of felt like I could use this in my everyday life and I can use the knowledge that I was learning in my classes to help my family and to help others around me too. And it came easily to me in the college that I was at. We would provide tax help to low income families, and doing that kind of or felt very rewarding to me. So that's kind of where it started. And from there, I've been able to try different areas of the accounting industry. And I've landed on taxes being a way that I can impact people a lot more than other areas.
That makes so much sense. So before we had started recording, you mentioned that your parents are Mexican immigrants from Zacatecas. I don't know if I've told you this before, but my dad is from Zacatecas.
Really? No, you hadn't taken.
Yeah,
Oh,
after we'll have to like figure out what like
yeah.
area. I mean, obviously Zacatecas is pretty big, but I was like recently speaking to my dad about because he went to go see his dad when I was in Mexico and he was driving to Zacatecas. So I was like, okay, exactly where are you from? Because by the time
Um,
I grew up, his family moved to Guadalajara. So I've mainly spent time in Jalisco or Mexico City. But
um,
yeah, like we have roots in Zacatecas. So anyway, I'll figure out when and where after. So,
yeah.
okay, that makes sense, right? As this eldest daughter of Mexican immigrant parents, you really carried this burden of like, let me figure out the financial system in this country that they've immigrated to because I speak the language. And obviously, you're a very intelligent individual. And not everybody has the skills to like work with numbers or with data. And based on like the work that I've done with you, and by looking at your human design chart, which is like your energetic blueprint, I'm like, oh, this makes sense. Like this is an alignment for you. And now what you're doing, which I think you mentioned at the beginning, so you kind of got into that field and then you started working with small businesses and now you're working specifically with entrepreneurs, right? Who are also like first gen. Tell us a little bit about who you work with now.
Yes, so I work specifically with first gen service entrepreneurs. And the reason I chose this specific niche is because I think, well, we don't have that financial guidance that we often need to be able to run a business or even with our personal finances. Like, we don't have that guidance coming in. So I think it's an important area that we provide support within our communities.
Totally. So, for those of you who are listening and maybe don't have a business or don't really understand exactly what was just said between Diana and I, so Diana would be a bookkeeper and tax representative for somebody like me. So, I'm a service based entrepreneur. My services are that I create content for businesses, I provide coaching, things like that. So, she works with coaches, she could work with like marketing agencies, different groups like that. But yes, I agree your work is so important because as a first gen entrepreneur, even though my parents were entrepreneurs in their own way, it was very different. It was like my mom has a house cleaning business. She doesn't have an accounting team. Like she just kind of figures it out on her own, right? And it's just not really
Yeah.
structured the way that my business is. And my business grew pretty quickly. So I would have been lost without, and you're right about sometimes we don't even have the knowledge to manage our own finances. And the finances was literally the number one reason that I delayed starting my business. So I think the work that you're doing and the focus that you have is super important. So you've been in the mastermind for the last 4 months. We still have a few more months to go, but we invited you on because you've done an incredible job of attracting a bunch of opportunities your way. And you've, like, when I was taking notes, because I have all of the mastermind girls up on my wall so I can look over and see you all. And I just have to compliment that you take action. Like you really do take action and you're willing to try things. And even if it doesn't work out, you'll try something else. And you're just very, very coachable. And I've seen a big shift in the way that you show up, in the way that you talk about yourself, in the way that you talk about your services. Like you'll literally come to one call and be like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't know if anybody needs this. And then I think the next call you were like, I landed a 6K a client. And I was like, what? You literally made your investment back with like one client.
Mhm.
So I would love to hear a little bit about where were you before you joined the mastermind and where are you now?
So I've seen a lot of growth since joining, and a big part of the growth that I've seen has been just the mindset shifts that I've done and you've helped me do. A big thing that was holding me back, I think, was feeling worthy of asking for payment for the services that I was doing. And a common thought that I had was like, who am I to be charging such a high amount for the work that I'm doing? Because it feels very easy to me. And it was hard to see that it wasn't so easy for other people and it wasn't so meaningful for other people. But being able to kind of just sit with myself and being like, hey, like this is not serving me anymore. Like this needs to change if I want to be this abundant person that I'm visualizing myself to be. And that has kind of been the route to me trying different things and being okay with taking action.
Yeah, that is a huge mindset shift going from, am I worthy of charging for something that comes easy to me? Which, by the way, that's how you know that you're in the right area because sometimes it's hard for us to see that our strengths are our strengths. Like because they come easy to us, we assume everybody else knows how to do it. But no, everybody has different strengths. And I can tell you, and I know this is something we coached on a lot. I'm like, trust me, people do not want to do their own bookkeeping. I don't want to do my own bookkeeping. I don't want to worry about my taxes. So that is a huge mindset shift. And that's actually the second phase of the magnetic framework, right? The first thing is decide what you want. And the second thing is believe you're worthy of it. And it sounds simple, but like that's where the majority of the work does take place. So, what do you feel like? What strategies or tools have helped you with overcoming that belief of I'm not worthy? So, like, how did you get over it? How did you go from feeling, am I worthy of this to no, I need to do this because my community needs me to do this?
It was a lot of journaling and a lot of self-coaching. I think being able to journal without judgment and being like, this is what's coming up and this is what I'm thinking, and being able to take a step back from it and examining what your thoughts are and then choosing whether to believe them or not has been really helpful. And also the self-coaching model, right? Like identifying what thoughts we want to choose instead, because if we hold on to the limiting beliefs that we have, then we're not going to grow and there's no like evolvement that's going to happen, right? So those two have definitely been the big ones for me. And
Yeah.
also visualization, if I can add. I feel
Yeah.
like the abundance challenge that we did during the Magnetic Mastermind really changed the way that I just looked at myself. So imagining like just the future Diana, what she's gonna look like, how she walks, how she talks, how she thinks has definitely like also helped me because it creates an image of what I want my life to look like. And being okay with taking different challenges and different accepting different risks to be able to get to that place.
Yes, visualization is huge. And the abundance activation month was, I think, most people's favorite month inside of the program, which is why we're going to do it again. But everything that you mentioned is key to overcoming any type of limiting belief or any type of mental block. So, for the people who are listening, and even if they don't have businesses or have desires to start a business, like maybe they want to create a children's coloring book, or maybe they want to speak up more at meetings at work, or maybe they want to start dating, or maybe they want to create content. I mean, there's so many things people would want to do. I feel like everything you just mentioned is the key to getting over their own limiting beliefs, over their own self-doubt, because we're all going to doubt ourselves at some point, especially when we've never done it before. And for you, like you'd already been working in this industry, but you had never done it on your own before. And notice that your block was around, how do I charge people for this? It wasn't about, can I perform the work, because you knew you had evidence that you could perform the work. And I've just really enjoyed seeing you go from that belief of, do I, or having that block of, can I charge for this, to landing a 6K client. That's been incredible to watch.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, you do not have a problem taking action. And you, again, you are very coachable. I'll tell you one thing and you actually go and you do it. Self-coaching model is a perfect example. Journaling, perfect example. The visualization, perfect example. Like these were all things that were said, but you actually did it. You didn't just hear it and do it once, like you kept doing it. And with you taking action and being coachable, I remember when you all of a sudden were launching something and I was like, wait, what? Where did this come from? And like, I just have to give you kudos and like give you your flowers, because you weren't over here like asking for permission. You were like, I'm going to go and try this thing. And I was like, wait, you're doing what? Like I had no idea that you were launching this thing. And then we spoke, and whenever we spoke, you mentioned, I really haven't had anybody sign up, and you had just landed the 6K client. And my coaching was, okay, stick with it because you've already made the decision, like take all the learning lessons you can from it. But in the end, it wasn't something that ended up performing the way that you wanted it to perform. I don't want to call it a failure. Like I mean, I'm sure you looked at it and like was worth probably thinking, damn, that was a failure. I look at it as a lesson. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because anybody else could have had that experience and could have said, I don't even want to do this anymore. Let me just focus on my full-time job. Let me just disengage. Let me stop showing up to get coached. And that's not what you did. You really allowed that to redirect you in your business. So how did you turn something that maybe other people would look at as a failure into a learning experience? Like what were the lessons and what was the experience you went through that?
Yeah, I think I had a lot of failures before joining Courage Driven Latina or Magnetic Mastermind, but I think something that just keeps me going is just believing in my mission a little bit more. So I really did believe in my launch, and I really did believe in it providing value to the right people. But the fact that I didn't perform the way that I wanted it to perform wasn't going to stop me from continuing to do what I wanted to do. And I think being able to recognize or having a firm belief in my mission and what I want to accomplish has really kept me from just giving up, because I've had moments before where things just don't work out the way that I want them to. And it's really easy for me to just be like, I get frustrated often and just be like, okay, well, I'm done. I'm just not going to do it anymore because I'm not bringing in the amount of revenue that I want. I'm not working with the people that I want to be working. Like it's just not working out. But I think there are different challenges that you'll face as a business owner that will provide you with learning opportunities. And I think this was one of them. I guess I didn't bring it up because I knew you were gonna say focus on one-on-one coaching and don't do the and don't do the launch that I wanted to do. But I think I needed to do the launch for me to kind of learn that I wanted to focus on one-on-one coaching. I mean coaching, one-on-one bookkeeping instead. And like I don't regret it. Like, yeah, it was hard to kind of go through it and not get the results that I wanted. Um, but I learned, right? And I just tried something and it didn't work out. So I'm gonna try something else and la vida sigue, like it's not gonna stop. So
Yeah, exactly. I love that you said I didn't bring it up because I already knew you were going to tell me not to do it. But you're right. Sometimes we have to go through the experience ourselves, right? Because we don't learn from hearing, we learn from experience. And all of the work you did for this launch isn't time wasted at all. I mean, even what you created and like the worksheets you created, that can literally be a bonus for your bookkeeping clients, right?
yeah.
Especially like the one that you signed who's doing like a part of the bookkeeping. Like you literally could be like, here you go. Here's this thing, like the you can do it yourself. And as you continue to grow and whenever you have a full caseload of or a full client load of bookkeeping clients and people want to work with you, you can just sell this instead. Say, hey, what? I've actually got this offer that you can do it yourself. And then whenever I have availability, I'll bring you on. But for now, you can learn how to do it. And so yeah, it's never time wasted. But I think the biggest admiration from my side is I've seen so many people make an attempt to do something. And when it doesn't turn out the way they want, it discourages them. And I saw you bounce right back. And that was really
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you. I think it took me like maybe a week or two of just like being on the downside of my like just emotions and stuff. But yeah, it just passes and it'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. And it did increase your visibility. I will say that because you
It
started
did.
getting a bunch of DMs and stuff. So,
Mhm.
and visibility is like a big part of being magnetic. It's like putting yourself out there, which I do know that once you had joined Courage Driven Latina, you were starting to create content. Right now, you're working on your first gen series, right? Like first gen finances, which has been so amazing. Tell me a little bit about what it's been like to show up more consistently? Has the mastermind helped with that? Has your belief helped with that? Do you think that mindset shift allowed you to show up more? What has helped you with getting more visible?
A combination of the mastermind and my belief. I think being surrounded with other women who are also posting and are also focused on like a mission based business and also showing up on Instagram has also kind of pushed me to like show up more. And also a reminder, like, oh, I need to show up. I need to post or I need to make content because we're kind of in this together. So I think it's been a combination of both for me.
If you're a female entrepreneur or creator, and that includes aspiring ones too, then listen up. You're invited to my free live webinar, The Magnetic Method: How to Build Influence and Manifest Opportunities Without Hustling. This is happening on Monday, October 21st at 5 p.m. PST. During the webinar, I'm going to be sharing the exact magnetic method that has helped me and my clients attract hundreds of clients and tons of amazing opportunities, all without chasing, pitching, or grinding. To give you an idea, one of my clients made over $150,000 in new sales in just 4 months. Another client manifested a pregnancy and set up her business so that she could take maternity leave. One doubled her follower count, and another one landed 13 speaking engagements. These are just a few examples of what is possible. During the webinar, you are going to learn how to manifest your biggest life and business goals without falling into the common manifestation mistakes. You're going to learn how to build intentional influence that naturally pulls in the right clients and opportunities. You're also going to learn how to take aligned action that feels good and not exhausting. This is for you if you've been stuck in the belief that success requires constant hard work and you're ready to shift out of survival mode. It's also for you if you want to attract your ideal clients and opportunities without having to slide into people's DMs or feel super sleazy and salesy. Maybe you've been trying a bunch of different things, but you're not seeing results and you're ready to take action, but you just want to be really intentional with your action and you want to make sure it works. And lastly, this is for you if you know you're meant for something bigger, but you've been doubting if your big goals are even possible. Register by going to the Erica Cruz, that's Erica with a K.com/magnetic. Or you can just use the link down below in the show notes. And just so you know, after the webinar, the doors for Magnetic Mastermind will open. I've been getting a lot of DMs with questions asking me when I'm going to open the doors for this program again. If you're not familiar with it, Magnetic Mastermind is for creators and entrepreneurs who are ready to manifest 3 core opportunities in 6 months by becoming magnetic. The doors are opening right after the webinar on October 21st, and they are only open for 7 days. The doors close on October 30th, and I don't want you to miss this because we will not have an enrollment again until sometime next year. So if you are interested in this program, be ready. Talk to your partner. The doors open right after the webinar on October 21st. Mark your calendar. Again, I will see you on Monday, October 21st for the Magnetic Method webinar. It's happening at 5 p.m. PST. Go to the Erica Cruz, that's Erica with a K/magnetic, or go to the link down below in the show notes. I'll see you there. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Definitely being surrounded by people who are doing it as well. And then to your point, having a mission focused business, which everybody in the mastermind does have one. So it allows you to not feel like you're annoying people when you have a bigger calling, or whenever things that don't go your way happen, you still have that bigger mission. So obviously you're showing up and your increased visibility has allowed you to have some awesome opportunities come your way. So your demand has, I don't know, I feel like tripled. You've had 9 sales calls. You've also had 2 invites for podcasts. Have you been on a podcast before?
No, this one's my first one.
And then you got another invite. Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
So you're doing great, by the way. For everybody listening, like it's not easy to just come on a podcast like this and then it be your first one, and then to like share vulnerable stories of like, oh my gosh, I tried this thing and it didn't work out. It requires a lot of courage to do this, and you're doing great.
Thank you.
But not only that, you also had, what was it at work? You had like an article about your work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, wait, what was that? I'm not even saying it right.
So my tax and accounting business right now is a side hustle. So I have my 9 to 5, and the work that we did was had an article come out about it, and like just referencing our work and the impact that we made within the community. So that was really, really nice to see. And that was actually during the abundance activation like month that we did. So I want to believe that it was manifested somehow.
Totally. And I really do believe that whenever you do the abundance activation in a community like that, there's even more magic because we really support one another to look for abundance and to be open to receiving things like this. So I agree. I mean, obviously you had already put in the work for that. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So when I coach women, especially eldest daughters of immigrants, there's something that stops people from allowing themselves to be in the spotlight, or it stops them from showing up and being visible because we hear the words, Caerita, te ves más bonita, be humble, right? All of these conflicting messages that culturally we were raised with, but now as an entrepreneur, they don't serve you because if you do stay humble, if you do stay quiet, you probably wouldn't have had all of these opportunities. You probably wouldn't have landed the 6K client. You probably wouldn't have had, you would have maybe felt uncomfortable with the news article instead of being excited about it. So, how have you navigated those stories that we maybe grew up with versus allowing yourself to be visible? How did you make that shift?
Definitely. I think I struggled with the fear of just being seen in general because I'm often the quiet one, right? I grew up being the quiet one. And the moment that I decided to like, not that I called attention to myself with the post that I did or anything like that, but the moment I decided to kind of announce that I was doing a business or share my my services, it was scary. Like, it's not something that just comes naturally and is easy for a lot of people. At least for me, it wasn't, because I was so used to just staying on the down low and not making a lot of fuss about what I was doing or what I wanted to do. So something that helped me kind of change was just going back to my thoughts and my mindset around what I was doing and how I was doing it. And like even now, it is a little scary to just tell someone what I'm doing. Like if I
Mhm.
feel like Instagram is a little easier to kind of post and announce what I'm doing, and but going to networking events and telling someone in person, like, hey, I'm doing bookkeeping and taxes if you ever need someone, like, is still kind of scary. So I think I'm still going through that fear, but it's a lot of mindset work that I need to do.
Yeah. I love that now the comfort for you is doing it online, because there's many
Yeah.
ways of being visible, but in one way is to do it through social media, and another way is to attend networking events and to do it in person. And for some people, that's way easier. But I think it's just because you've also began to do this more, that the more you do it, the more comfortable you are. Do you think
Mhm.
having like a specific series and having a bigger mission has also helped you with like the focus, as well as taking the spotlight off you and more putting the spotlight on your community? Do you think that's also been a contributing factor?
Yeah, definitely. And I think also just making it part of my daily business operations that need to like happen. I need to post on Instagram or on whatever I'm doing to be able to keep my business growing has kind of also taken out I want to say the drama behind it because it is a lot of mind drama. Um, but just making it part of like my routine and not getting caught up on my thoughts behind it, because when I started it was a lot of like, oh, I'm annoying people. I already posted so many times this week, like that's it. And now it's kind of just like, well, it's going to go out. If people want to see it, cool. If they don't, then they don't, right? And yeah, it's kind of been like, this needs to get done and it's going to get sent out and we're going to move forward and that's it.
I love that reframe. You're like, this is just part of doing business. This is just how, if I want to serve people, this is part of what I have to do. Yeah. And
Mhm.
really making it a habit. And that's like the most sustainable way to do it, especially because what you mentioned, it really is a lot of mind drama. So, with all of these opportunities and allowing yourself to be visible, and in other words, really like building influence around not in a negative way of like, oh my gosh, I'm an influencer and I'm just going to go promote things. It's more, again, like service oriented, where you're educating people about finances, about taxes, about what it's like to run a business, especially being first gen. Have any of the all like amazing opportunities you've landed come to you because you've pitched yourself? Have you like, for example, for getting on the podcast, did you send a DM, or like for the people who booked sales calls with you, did you ask them to
Oh,
book sales calls, or did they just come to you?
no, they come to me. I don't chase, I
Okay.
attract.
That's you already knew what the question was here. Tell me what
No.
that experience has been like for you, though, because I think people have this, especially Latinas, especially women of color, children of immigrants. We have this belief that I have to work really hard to be successful. I have to go pitch myself. I have to chase the things that I want. And you are the embodiment of somebody who's landed so many opportunities and they've all come to you. So, did you also have that belief before of like, oh, I'm going to have to pitch myself if I want to be successful? Or like, how has that felt without chasing and actually attracting?
Yeah. So when I started Magnetic Mastermind, I was reaching out to different nonprofits that I wanted to work with because I wanted to host different financial workshops for their members. And I think I reached out to like 10 or 12. No one ever responded. And the moment that I started embodying who I am and just waiting, well, I don't want to say waiting for the opportunities because I'm not passive, but whenever I let the opportunities come to me, that's when things started to work out. And I'm no longer going to be like searching for opportunities. I really do believe that the opportunities that are meant for me will come to me. And I think that also like coincides to to my human design reading that we had.
Yep. I was just thinking the same thing.
I think I'm a generator, right? As a
Yep.
generator, like opportunities come to me and I will then decide if I want to take them or not. And I think I really appreciate that from this program because it's allowed me to kind of embody my feminine energy and be okay with not having that hustly energy that we kind of associate with having businesses.
Yeah. The thing about pitching ourselves, how did you feel after reaching out to those 12 nonprofits and not hearing back?
Well, I felt like it affected my confidence because I was like, well, they don't want to work with me. No one wants to work with me, right? But I don't think it was that. I think it was I didn't have the connections or that opportunity just wasn't meant for me at that time.
Yeah. And, it doesn't even mean like, oh my goch, I was rejected. The nonprofits are busy. They are overworked and underpaid, right? Who knows
Mhm.
what was going on? Like, who knows where
Yeah.
the email went? Like, we don't really know all of that. But you, as a human being, as a service provider, as the CEO of your business, it's so easy to be like, they don't want to work with me. They didn't even respond. And to create these beliefs and for it to affect your confidence, right? So a lot of times people think that being magnetic is just sitting around and being passive, but I feel like you are the an ideal embodiment of somebody who is learning to tap into their feminine energy, but you're still taking aligned action. You literally just told us that it's part of your daily operations to create content and let people know what you're doing. Right. So you
Yeah.
are, I think my cat just wanted to join in. She agrees with me. Tinkerbell's like, yep, Diana's killing it. So yeah, and you're like the ideal embodiment of somebody who is allowing themselves to receive, but you're still showing up, you're still taking action, and your human design, you're a generator and your strategy is to respond. So that is how you take action through your strategy. And the way that you are going to best take action is when you are given something to respond to. So for example, somebody says, "Hey, I want to work with you," and books a sales call. Or if somebody DMs you and says, "Hey, I have a question about bookkeeping," or the invite that you got for the podcasts, right? So these are invitations that are coming to you that are allowing you to respond. And that is, or even just like for your series, right? We went through like a bunch of different questions and you're like responding to the questions in your series. So even the way that you create content is leveraging your human design. And yeah, so thank you for sharing that, which then leads me to one of my last questions, which is why did you choose Magnetic Mastermind of all the different masterminds? And what about it drew called you to it, being that it's like more of a spiritual business mastermind, right? Because there's a lot of business masterminds out there. But what about the spiritual component or about Magnetic Mastermind? Maybe it wasn't even the spiritual component, but what drew you to it?
Well, first, because you're a Latina coach, I think I was able to connect with you. And I feel like you kind of understand the different struggles that Latina or business owners have. So, first, that. And then, secondly, you also talked about the law of attraction. And for me, that was something that I was like, that I looked into before. So being able to kind of combine both my business and my spiritual side was definitely something that I was looking for.
So, like, what I'm hearing you say right now is that you didn't want to have a traditional business model that followed like the bro marketing tactics that were just about let's increase the profit. And that's what matters more than anything. And who cares about the impact we're making, when the truth is we live in a capitalistic society, right? But you want your business to build wealth and impact so that you can then give back to the communities you care about, right? You really want it to
Yeah.
be a purpose-driven, mission-oriented business.
Yes.
Yeah. That's literally, well, not just anybody could join the mastermind, right? Like that is why you got an invitation to join, because of that. And that's a big fundamental part of the program. I mean, even earlier today while we were having the workshop on how to build your belief around your offer, the big component was you have to have a bigger goal. You have to have a bigger mission that you're after, or else it's going to be really hard to believe in what you're doing. And that's pretty much what you're talking to right now. So yeah, really at the base of what we learned inside of Magnetic Mastermind is how to leverage law of attraction for your business. And like you really have attracted so many opportunities your way because of your own vibration, right? To use the words of law of attraction. And we don't use those specific terms just because not everybody is familiar with law of attraction in that who's in the mastermind, but you understand the concepts overall, which is why you can see how it's embedded into the program. And what we really work on in the program is working on a magnetic mindset, which is like an abundance mindset, and then magnetic marketing. So like how to attract things to you instead of chasing them. And I think also the fact that you're interested in law of attraction makes sense as to why your results have been what they've been. And we still, like, again, we're a little bit over halfway through the program. Like you're not even done. I'm super excited to see what happens over the next few months, especially as we do the abundance activation one more time. So looking back on your experience thus far in the mastermind, what would you say is your biggest lesson or takeaway from being inside of Magnetic Mastermind?
That it starts with you. You're really your biggest critic and your biggest supporter too, right? Like it really starts with you, your vibration, your expectation, and what you want from your life. And you're the only one who can kind of make it happen.
That was a really good response. That was really good.
It came from the heart.
Yeah. So I agree with everything you said. And then just one more point to add on to that, the business and the life that you want to create also starts with you, and the again, like you said, the belief you have, but also the action that you take. And when we think about thought leadership, I actually just recorded a podcast episode on this. When we think about thought leadership and influence, people a lot of times are waiting for external validation to say, oh, yeah, I have influence. Look at the speaking engagement I got, or look at all these clients I got. But it starts with you. Like you have to decide that you're going to build influence. You have to decide that you are knowledgeable in this area. And that's something that I've seen you do through your content and through any like workshops that you have offered, where you've decided like I'm going to be the person who helps first gen with this, and then you showed up that way, and then other people started to see you that way. So everything starts with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Is there anything haven't asked you that you want to share with us, like either a takeaway or like something that you feel called to share with the audience?
Yeah. I think both programs, right, Courage Driven Latina and the Magnetic Mastermind, have both been just very healing for me to find a group of other Latina women who kind of go through similar, like, just struggles and just life experiences. So being able to connect with just the community has been very impactful, and I think has also played a role in how I show up in my business and in my life in general, because there's a support there, right? Like there's other women who have kind of gone through similar things and have been able to overcome them. So seeing like the other girls kind of like reach their goals or just see their growth throughout the program has also been very rewarding and has been very healing to me.
There's something special about doing things in community, because typically the reason that people don't go after what they feel called to do is because they don't have the support system that allows them to go after it. So what you've just mentioned sounds like, oh, whatever, like, you can make friends anywhere, but I think there's something really subtle here that you're pointing to, and what you're pointing at is that there's power in having a room full of women that have had similar challenges in their history but have the desire to be the best version of themselves and to create a business in a new way rather than
Mm.
just being profit hungry, being purpose hungry. And to your point, seeing the growth that has happened, it's just inspirational, and like really having a safe space, it does make the world of a difference. And I've been interviewed about my own business and starting my own business. And I always say the number one thing that helped my success was having a community of other people around me who were going where I was going or who understood where I wanted to go. Because at the core, we're human. And at the core, we need connection. And at the core, we really do need support and community. So what you're getting at right now is literally why I have group programs. Because as much as I could be like, oh, I'm a great coach and I work with people, I'm like, no, like having a community of people is so much better than having the smartest person in the world with you.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. What a great interview. You were nervous and you did such a great job.
Thank you. I feel like there was a lot of stuttering, but
No, you did so good. I guess just like the last question I have is, do you feel magnetic?
I do. I do feel magnetic. I feel like whatever's meant for me is gonna come for me, and yeah, like whatever's meant for me is mine, and I don't have to work hard for it. I don't have to just hold on.
You're already going to make me cry. I'm like tearing up over here. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's working. The program's working.
I do feel magnetic, right? I feel like things that are meant for me will find their way to me, and like they're not gonna miss me, if they're really for me. Like in Spanish, lo que dicen, right? Lo que es para ti, ni aunque te ponga. Or like, am I saying it right?
Lo que es para ti, ni aunque te quites. Lo que no es para ti, ni aunque te pongas. So this
Yeah.
translates to what's for you, even if you try to remove yourself, is going to find you. And what's not for you, even if you try to put yourself in that situation or force it, ain't going to work out, pretty much. So what's for you
Yeah.
will find you, and what's not for you literally will not work out, even if you try to force it to make it work out.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's provided to me with a little more like just comfort with my life and just knowing that things always work out. So there's nothing to worry about.
what a beautiful state to be in. Well, Diana, thank you so, so much for coming on. I guess, do you have anything for maybe people who are listening to this podcast and are like, oh, I've been wanting to join a mastermind. I'm not sure which one to join. And I've been considering Magnetic Mastermind, but maybe they're like, is this going to work for me? All the normal doubts that I think people have at the beginning. What would you say to that person?
I would say that if you're ready to really invest in your business and really change the way you see yourself and the way you show up in your life and your business, to consider joining, because it really does make an impact and it really will change the way you show up.
And you are the perfect embodiment of that. So, where
Thank
can
you.
people connect with you and find you, and how can people work with you?
I'm on Instagram. My username is Taxes with Diana. Um, they can follow me there, and then my links to my website are also on there.
And we will be sure to link all of those down below in the show notes. And then, how are you working with people? How can they work with you as a bookkeeper?
I work with first gen service based entrepreneurs. So if they're interested in bookkeeping and tax filings, I can take them on. I'm also based in Los Angeles, so Californian businesses are my focus.
Okay, fantastic. So for those of you listening, if you have just started a business, what she means by bookkeeping, because I remember I didn't even know what bookkeeping was when I started my business. So bookkeeping is pretty much just looking at your expenses as well as your income and actually, you say it. I just messed it up.
So, bookkeeping is basically keeping track of the flow of money within your business. So, we keep track of your income and your expenses to show a financial picture of how your business is doing. And then at the end of the year, we help you file taxes and make sure you're on top of tax deadlines.
Can you create a reel about this?
Yeah.
Bookkeeping is, because that was such a much better definition than what I just said.
Yeah, I'll add it to my list.
Okay, amazing. Add it to the series. Diana, thank you so much for coming on. You did a fabulous job. You've been working so magnetically. I don't want to say hard. You've been working so magnetically. You've been disciplined. You've been putting in the work. I love seeing it pay off for you. And just thank you for being such an amazing client. And I will see you on the next call.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theericacruz.com. That's Erica with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erica Cruz. That's Erica with a K, because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.